online video has evolved dramatically in recent years, and as the line between web content and television content has gotten more and more blurred, it's left a lot of opportunities but also challenges for media companies. And since these issues are only going to grow as more technologies develop, questions are building not only about what solutions exist, but also about what will happen next. So to shed some light on this matter, we're going to bring in Jeff Whatcott, the Chief Marketing Officer at Brightcove. Thanks for joining us today, Jeff.
Hey, it's great to be here. Thank you.
Great. Well, let's first of all talk about where we've come from in regards to online video and TV. How did we get to the point we are now?
Sure. Well, you know, in the early days of online video, it was really simple. There were basic clips that were being put online, mostly for promotional purposes, and really it was about marketing of shows that were going to be watched elsewhere. But in the last several years, we've actually seen much more of the core content coming online, and that makes things much more complex. It needs to be delivered in HD quality. It's got to be monetized through either pay models or also through better forms of advertising with mid-rolls and ad selectors. And you've also got to protect the content because it's high-value content that could otherwise be misappropriated and end up in the wrong hands. And so that makes it much more challenging to deliver that high-value premium movie and TV content online. But that's the era that we've now entered.
Right. So while this is an exciting time with TV's evolution and the onset of many new platforms, talk more about what this actually does mean for media companies and publishers.
Well, it means that they have to start thinking about a wide variety of issues and topics. So we talked about content protection, things like DRM, how we're going to secure the content so that I can comply with the rights that are in the agreements that for the content that I've licensed from, in some cases from abroad or so forth. But also, how am I going to deliver that content in all the different places that it may need to be viewed? It's not just PCs anymore. It's mobile devices, smartphones, tablets, connected televisions, over-the-top devices like Google TV and Apple TV and Roku and others. And that having all those different screens that you need to deliver content to creates incredible technical complexity for these organizations. And so what they're facing is a decision of, do I want to ramp up my technical resources internally so that I can build my own kind of homegrown solutions to deal with that complexity, or do I turn to outside vendors to actually who've already solved those problems to actually provide me a solution to do that? And that's really where we make our business, is in organizations that have concluded we're going to fall behind if we can't keep up.
Right. Let's get into that a little bit further. Brightcove's actual role in this transformation and really some of the solutions that you all have.
Sure. So, for example, in the case of putting video on all the different types of different devices, there's web-based experiences on these devices. So the mobile browser in smartphones and tablets, and then there are app-based experiences on all these different types of devices, where it's not you're not finding it through the browser. You're actually activating and installing an app that you then go to on a regular basis. The way that you capture analytics in each of those different contexts, the way that you do content protection in each of those contexts, the way you do advertising is very different. And so what we've done is we've brought in all those different types of device environments into our labs, and we build out applications and building blocks that give our customers a really advanced starting point for dealing with all of that complexity. And so rather than starting from just a blank sheet of paper and a long list of questions, they start with a code that's actually already been written that already integrates in with the right systems in the right ways so that they're way ahead of the game. That saves a lot of time, and they know that those things are going to work. They know that advertising that works on PCs is also going to work in mobile devices. And that's important because there's no point having a mobile audience if you can't actually monetize that audience. And so those are some of the things that we build into our platform so that our customers don't have to. And one of the things we've done very, very concretely is we built what we call an HTML5 abstraction layer. HTML5 is the future of the web, and everybody's embracing it right now. But it turns out the way that HTML5 is implemented across all of the different devices is very different. And we track many, many different versions of operating systems and different hardware combinations that all seem to behave slightly differently around what is an open standard. But because they've implemented it different ways, there's a lot of inconsistencies and incompatibilities. Now, when we discover an inconsistency or an incompatibility between a different platform or a bug, with customer A, we fix it so that customer A's site works, and then all of our other 4,000 customers benefit from that change. Whereas if customers aren't using something like Brightcove's platform, they have to find those bugs and fix them themselves. So those are just a few examples of the kinds of things that we do for our customers.
Right, and I understand that Brightcove recently announced a video cloud integration for 9 CMS platforms.
That's right. And really what's going on there is that, when you're delivering video through your website, typically that video is in the context of pages that have been generated by a CMS. Most modern professional-grade websites are run by a commercial or open-source content management platform. And those can be really helpful in driving things like multivariate testing and automated publishing procedures and search engine optimization for your site. And video is just one part of the content that's going into your site. It happens to be a very complicated and tricky part, and that's why we have a separate business. So we thought it was really important to bring those two technologies together so that they can work consistently. For example, when you're publishing a news article on a website through your content management system, a reporter doesn't necessarily want or need to know all about your video management system in order to publish video as part of an article if they've shot some video. They should be able to just submit video along with the other text and other articles that have, the other part of the article that have been submitted, have that go through the editorial workflow process, and then have it go live. And so that's the kind of integration that we've built with all of these different content management systems. So that just, again, gives our customers an advanced starting point for publishing on their sites.
Absolutely. Well, going forward with both television and the cloud and everything, what does Brightcove expect from this next wave of transformation?
Sure. Well, we see increasing fragmentation and complexity on the devices side. There's many more different types of devices that are coming down the road. I mean, Apple's supposed to be coming out with a new TV platform that we're expecting to come out, sometime this year. I don't have any particular information about that, but we would anticipate that's going to happen.
Right.
And that's going to be, they're going to bring, new user experiences, new technologies, new ways of thinking about content flows to the market, and we'll need to respond to those. And just as we did when, they came out with the iPhone and then the iPad, that tends to, when Apple does something big, it tends to cause shockwaves throughout the industry.
Of course.
So we'll be responding to that. I think that we'll see more and more content coming online that's licensable and accessible if you don't have a cable subscription. There's a whole generation of people who are growing up with having never had a cable bill, or not preferring to consume their content through cable. And we see more and more companies wanting to service the desire of that class of people to have access to content, and that's creating tremendous demand for systems that power those kinds of over-the-top delivery systems. And so that's something that we are definitely seeing as an opportunity. And I think another opportunity that we're seeing is that it's not just about the video content itself. Video is, of course, very complicated, and we've talked a lot today about how we help address that. But another trend that we're seeing is that people are really struggling with, how am I going to deal with this new world of apps? Most organizations that we talk to have maybe delivered an iOS app for iPhone, maybe an iPad app. They're thinking about Android, but now they're realizing, if I have one for every one of my brands or my shows, depending on whether a marketer or a digital media company, if for every one of my brands I'm going to have, multiple apps, and those are going to be across multiple platforms, maybe, smartphones, tablets, iOS, Android, maybe Windows Phone, and others, it multiplies the number of apps they have to build. And if those are all costing money and they all have to be maintained, you get this unsustainability problem with apps. And a lot of people we talk to are very, very stressed out about that right now. And so we have launched a product last year called App Cloud to help organizations more cost effectively build and operate and maintain those apps. And that's really resonating with people that are starting to realize that apps have a life cycle. And I think that's a trend that will continue as things often in the early days, people just kind of experiment and they invest a little just to see what's going to happen. Now it's clear apps are here to stay. They're starting to take a step back and say, how am I going to manage this long term?
Definitely. Well, speaking more generally of Brightcove, the company has experienced a tremendous amount of success this year as it became a public company. So with Facebook's IPO on nearly everyone's mind, what can you tell us about the transformation for Brightcove? And do you have any advice for Facebook in terms of really keeping the innovation alive?
Sure. Well, obviously achieving an IPO is a major milestone for any company. There's a lot of effort that goes into that, a lot of vetting and that goes through that process. And I think it's something that, obviously we're very excited that was able to happen for our company. But we're really focused on building our business and growing it. That's a milestone towards our vision of building a strong, independent company. And so that's nice. In terms of advice for Facebook, they've always been an innovative company. They've been a good partner to us. I think they just need to, keep focused on their business and growing their customer base and figuring out how to monetize that effectively. Everything around the IPO and funding, although there's a lot of excitement around that, it ultimately doesn't change your relationship with your customers. You just need to execute well. And so I think if they focus on that, and that's what certainly we're trying to do, they'll be successful in the long term.
All right, good perspective. Well, also I understand that Brightcove has an event coming up in June that focuses on digital media. So can you tell us a little bit about this event?
Sure. So this is our user conference that we hold every year. It's called Brightcove Play 2012, and it's going to be from June 25th to 27th here in Boston at the Intercontinental Hotel right next to our new offices in downtown Boston. And it's 3 days of incredible learning from some of the leaders and thought leaders across the digital media industry as well as the digital marketing industry. We'll have many of the top brands in media and in consumer brands from around the world who are our customers there talking about and sharing best practices. We'll have keynotes by Jeremy Allaire, our CEO, Javid Mendels, our COO. We'll have Jim Breyer and Eric Schonfield there for a panel as well. So a lot of really interesting networking opportunities. We did this last year here in Boston. It was tremendously fun and a great time, and just a lot of learning happened. So love to have everyone join us there.
All right, great. Well, we look forward to hearing much more from Brightcove. Thank you so much for talking with us today, Jeff.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. With this WebProNews report, I'm Abby Johnson.